Now I want to here's a map, and this will help you when I'm going to show you some photographs. They're really, I think you'll find them eye-opening. This is a deep channel. The seals come in this main channel, and they haul out on these sandbar beaches right along the main channel. So right where the pointer is where the seals, there are eight of these haul-out sites. They have a nomenclature. You only need to know the names of 2 of them. One of them is called OB, and they'll haul out right here. You'll see that in the photo, and the other is called UEF, and they haul out right down here. There are 6 other places they haul out. Where are the oyster bags? The oyster bags are way back here. Distance, they're about 800 yards away. If you're a football fan, that's 8 football fields. That'll be important in a second. It's a long distance. The boats, according to a protocol from 1992, from several decades ago, the oyster boats in the pupping season have to come the back door here and come to their oyster bags. They don't get anywhere near the seals over here. The cameras are sitting right where I've got them pointed in this slide. Now here's what the Park Service has been claiming. And by the way, before I show you the slide, who do they claim it to? This is not just Marin County. Let's see, they've told it to our supervisors, to our senators and our House members, to the Department of Interior Inspector General, the National Academy of Sciences, the editor of their main journal, Marine Mammal Science. The Marine Mammal Commission was from the Marine Mammal Act. It reports to the Senate. It's a federal agency. The Department of Interior, various national news. This has been written up in the New York Times, the LA Times, et cetera, as well as ours, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of people have heard these stories. They claim that they have evidence showing that the oyster farm's disturbing the seals, overwhelming data, that increased in 2007. It's at this one subsite, OB. It's the only source of disturbances at OB, that the number of seals have gone down there. The oyster farm is the only cause of the seals. It's a serious problem. We've got to get rid of the oyster farm. It's a national emergency. I know I went through that quickly, but you get the gist. You don't have to go through all the words. So what did the photos show us? Sorry, about the bottom here. A few words are going off the bottom. So we've got the photographs now. The nice thing about the photographs is that, as the National Academy said, the photographs don't lie. We have photographs every minute of every day of pupping season. Now I can tell you that that's over 250,000 photographs they've got. The park has said we've never analyzed the photos. I analyzed the photos and it took me about 4 hours one morning. Now I know I'm fast, but you say, Corey, how do you do that? That's record speed. How do you analyze 250,000 digital photographs in 4 hours? It's pretty fast. How I do it is because it winds up through FOIA requests, we've gotten the logs. It winds up they have analyzed it. They haven't told the truth on that. They have volunteers who have done minute by minute. Every single photograph of those 250,000 has been analyzed. And they've kept records, I'll show them to you in a second, of every boat trip those boats have ever done. Every time the oyster boats come and go, the workers come and go, looking to see are the seals getting flushed. That's how I'm able to look at these photos, because they've given me the blueprint. They've given me a roadmap of exactly where to look every minute of every day, and it's spot on to the second right. So they've analyzed the photographs in these logs. And what the photographs show is that the assertions they've made are not correct, and they know it. They have 3.5 years of data that they've never told any of these agencies who have investigated or any of the elected officials. And what these show, I won't mince words, there has not been a single disturbance of the seals by the oyster farm. This isn't my conclusion. This is the conclusion of their volunteers in their logs. National Park Service logs of 250,000 photographs that they have clearly show, I only received this data, by the way, in the first week of September, clearly show there's not been a single disturbance. Not one. Not one. But there are disturbances by kayaks. It winds up kayakers shouldn't be out there, but kayakers go out there where they shouldn't. When the kayakers get about 50 to 75 yards away from the seals all look up, get disturbed, they all flush in the water with all their pups, and they dive deep. I'll show you what one of those looks like. It's pretty dramatic, but it's not caused by the oyster boats. So here's what they've said about the camera program. This summer, the National Park Service has been scrambling. You can probably get a sense of why the National Park Service didn't want to come tonight when they were invited. They say the cameras were for photographing wildlife. The cameras were there to study the seals at OB. The images haven't been analyzed, and that, they said they made this public. Well, I've given you the answers to these questions. The logs you'll see are all about oyster workers and oyster boats. Minute by minute, everything has been analyzed. Here's what they say about disclosure. you'll enjoy this. They say, they've said this publicly in press releases, they said, we actually did disclose the cameras. Here's what they did. 2 years after the cameras started, they buried in the appendix of a document that was disagreeing with something I had said, they buried the existence of the cameras in that thing I showed you. That was 2 years after the fact. But they never gave me or the National Academy or anybody that document. Almost a year later, they put it on the Marine Mammal Commission website, document number 110 out of a set of 153 documents. I don't think there's anyone other than me who's ever looked through those documents. It's not in the title, not in the summary. They call that public disclosure. The head of the Marine Mammal Commission had no clue there were cameras or photos, but they call this legitimate public disclosure. They can say, well, we disclosed the cameras. So now, here's the log. Here's how you can go through the all those photographs. There are about 30 pages like this, minute to minute, where they tell you boats, but they claimed these cameras were for observing seal behavior. Does anyone see seal behavior looked at on these logs? But in case you think I've just picked one page, here's another page. Boat leaves channel, boat enters channel, boat leaves channel, and just in case you wonder, I'll show you a few other pages. I just want you to see what the pages look like. There's a dominant word, it's called boat. Oyster boat. Now what I can tell you is that there's never a seal disturbance associated with boat. Now here's from another year. They have different volunteers do these things different ways. Boat, that's oyster boat, no disturbance. Boat, no disturbance. No seals. Boat, no disturbance. You see a lot of no disturbance. Now we got a disturbance. 100% of seals flush. Oop, it's a kayak. Kayak that shouldn't be there. Here's two more examples. We found some disturbances. Oops, kayak, kayak. I think you get the idea. Here's a disturbance kayak. I want to show you this one. They marked, this is their words, not mine, good pictures. I'm going to go through these pictures quickly. Here are the seals right at the lip. This is one of these cameras. Everything's very compressed. Over here is where the bags are. That's 800 yards away, more than 8 football fields away. The seals get disturbed when you get within less than 100 yards. In fact, you're legally not supposed to get within 100 yards. So there are the seals. You see them, the seals and their pups right there. Oops, I missed it. Here in this first picture, that's the kayak right there. I'm pointing it to you. Now look minutes, and that's 56. I'm not going to show you every minute because I don't want to bore you. Here 2 minutes later, the kayak's gotten here. That's probably about 200 yards away. Now here it is a few minutes later. A few of these guys with their heads up, if you've been looking carefully. I'll go back. Here they are. Boops, a few have already gone in the water. Now it's about 75 yards away. Boom, it's going to stick there. Boom. Where are the seals? Not only have they all gone in the water, flushed into the water, but you don't even see them on the surface. They've dived because they view that as a threat. That's called a flushing into the water. That's what happens when a kayaker gets within about 50 to 75 yards of these seals. That's a legitimate disturbance. The Park Service never told anybody about that. Now let's look at what happens. So here they're coming out a little bit later. Now let's look at what happens. I've just picked one example of an oyster boat because I'm not going to bore you. I went through about 30 of these and I got bored. The volunteers had never seen any disturbances. I went through about 30. I never saw disturbances. Trust me, this one's representative. Here's the oyster boat coming motoring along. That's about 800 yards away from over here. Look at the seals. I'll just go through a few pictures. Actually, one of them is crawling up the bank. He's not exactly flushing in the water. Here now they get, by the way, from the last picture to this one, you're going to see some oyster workers here. They're walking back and forth to their oyster bags. Just showing you picture to picture. If it doesn't look like they're changing, it's because the seals aren't doing much. Here are the oyster workers back over here. Here's their boat. This is over about 35 minutes. Nothing's happening. Oh, here the boat's going away. It goes out the back door. The guy who owns the oyster farm now has GPS on his boats, and he can actually track to show he's never anywhere near the seals. What's my point? I've gone through enough of those, and I hope, but I don't have to go through them. The volunteers have gone through every single one of those 250,000 photos and tell us that the oyster boats never disturb the seals. Never once. 3.5 years. This is the West Regional Chief Scientist, Dave Graber. He's responsible as the Chief Scientist for the entire West Coast of the United States. He says the photos have never been used, this is what he said to the press, have never been used against the oyster farm, and he says they're just there for seals and seal behavior. I hope you understand that he may have said that to the press, but that's not the case. The cameras are not there to look at seal behavior, they're to look at the boats. That's what the logs tell us. And we know that they've actually had applications. You learn a lot from 500 pages of FOIA app requests. You learn that they even put in their documents that this is all about the oyster farm. So let me skip and just show you one final thing. I've just told you in 3.5 years there are no disturbances. But I also told you at the beginning of the talk they've got disturbances. Something doesn't jive. Anyone want to take a guess what it is? What's going to happen when the photos and the purported disturbances both show the same event? Let me just show you one of them. Okay? This is a day when there were supposed to be 23 seals out there. Tide's going out. Later on, there are 28 at this location. I've been through this with the executive director of the Marine Mammal Commission in detail. He's looked at all this with me. What this number shows is there are 28 at some point, and then all but 3 of them flush in the water. We should see, like you just saw, a boat comes by, and we should see most of the seals at this location flushing in the water. You know what it's going to look like. They're going to put their heads up, and they're all going to dive for water. Okay? Now we don't actually see the boat. The pictures are taken every minute. The boat comes by between 8:46 and 8:47. The observer says the boat's out there at 8:45. That's further south at a different site. It takes a minute or two to get over here. Somewhere between 8:46 and 8:47, the boat came by the site. How do we know there's the boat wake, everyone? It's going just in the direction the observer said it was going. That's the boat wake. Now over here you can't see, and there's too much light in this room. I don't want people to go to sleep. Is there any way to make it just a touch darker for just a minute? If you can, great. Let me just show you what this shows. This is very high magnification from their camera. Here are the seals before the boat comes by. There's about 21 of them here. I just want to give you the gestalt. Thank you. I'll just do this for a moment. Thanks very much. Here at 8:44, tide's going out, so more of the seals are hauling out. See this spot is here that isn't here? That's a seal that's popped out. Here's another one here. So here you have the sense. This is a minute before the boat comes by. You ready to see all the seals flush in the water? The boat just went by. Oops, the seals aren't even putting their heads up. Here it is another minute later. Well, maybe it takes them an extra minute or two before they flush in the water. Nope, a few minutes later, here's another seal, here's another seal. Not a single seal flushed in the water. You can put the lights back up, thanks. I won't need them down anymore. Thank you very much. Conclusion, the MPS photos confirm the fact that a boat went by. They confirm the number of seals, but whereas the disturbance report said virtually all of those seals flushed in the water, what these photos show us is not a single seal flushed in the water. I don't know what you want to call that, and I'll be careful on my words. But clearly, the photos, I think, tell the truth and tell us that there was not a disturbance that day. The boat, by the way, was probably about 200 to 250 yards away from the seals. Finally, you know that briefing statement that they made? They said I was wrong about something I had said about a particular disturbance record. There was a disturbance record that took place on a Sunday. Well, the thing is, what the guy who owns the oyster farm showed me is that his workers don't work on Sundays, except if it's a long holiday. Special Sundays they might occasionally work. And they've got payroll records and time charts. They've got electronic time clocks. And we said they weren't working on that Sunday. They couldn't have made that disturbance. Why are we nitpicking? In the entire 6 years, there's only 4 disturbances. And all of them go away. So this is like the last one standing. So we said they're not working on the Sunday. So the park came out with this document, and this whole huge document is to basically say that I'm wrong about that. And they give 3 reasons why these guys might be out there on a Sunday. Number 1, sometimes the oyster workers go fishing after hours. Well, that seemed a little far-fetched to me because no one described guys out there with poles in the deep water fishing for, something, whatever kind of fish there might be in there. They described them in shallow water hauling oyster bags back and forth. And these oyster workers don't work for free. Second possibility, they said that on Sunday, May 11th, they had evidence that workers were out there working. May 11th was a Friday, not a Sunday. Sure enough, there were people out there working. They work on Fridays. So we're down to one piece of evidence in this whole government document of why I'm wrong. And by the way, here we refute the accusations with sound data and scientific analyses. The final one is they've got these time and date stamped images. This is what led me, this is why I went to find out about the cameras in the first place. They say they've got photos that show him working on a Sunday, where I say, the records say he's not working on Sundays. So what gives?